Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Hopefully everybody's doing well. I'm just getting up. I gotta go jump my butt in the shower, get ready to go get my hair cut because I'm looking pretty rough. But anyway, I just dropped a video talking about time and how time is your biggest protector. Now, there's always going to be people out there who are skeptics, and they're going to say something like, "Well, how do you know this?" So, I want to give you guys the 38 CFR codes to each one of these time groups, so you can go read it for yourself. I'll add a little commentary to each one and try to break it down even further in layman's terms. What's going on, T Mix? How you doing? And I'll break it down in layman's terms to make it simpler instead of you having to read that whole thing, but it will be your option. Okay. Now, the video I just put out talks about how time is your biggest protector. All right. I'm going to start with the 5 year rule. Let me give you the CFR code first. So, the 5 year rule CFR code is 38 CFR 3.344. I'm going to say that again. 38 CFR 3.344. Here's what it says, partial of what it says. Once a condition has been rated at the same level for 5+ years, VA can't reduce it unless there's sustained material improvement shown through multiple consistent exams, not just one doctor saying you look better. Now, that's an interpretation of it. There's a lot more language there, but that's just an interpretation of the rule. So basically, okay, if let me start from below five. You have it less than 5 years, your PNT, 100% PNT. The VA catches an error. They can reduce it. Now, you can file an appeal to stop it and to, argue your point of why they're trying to reduce it. But do they have the right to do it within the first 5 years? Absolutely. Now, after 5 years, they got to show a reason. And if they can show that reason of consistent over 5 years, let's say you're back. Every year for the last 5 years, the doctor says your back has been improving. They can show evidence of that every year of improvement. Yes, they can reduce it. But there is that protection there where the VA has to show consistency once you're past 5 years. If you're less than five, they could simply, there was an error, the ratings changed. You shouldn't have gotten this because of X, Y, and Z. Yes, they can do that, even at 100% PNT. This is what I'm trying to explain. I try to educate. I'm not trying to scare people, but I'm trying to educate people. Running out saying I'm 100% PNT, congratulations on your rating. But a rating is just that. It's a percentage. It's not a protection. Okay, let's move to the next one. The next one is a big one. The 10-year rule. The 10-year rule, 38 CFR code is 38 CFR 3.957. It's 38 code CFR 3.957. After 10 years, your service connection itself is protected. That means they can't take away service connection. They can't say, oops, we made a mistake. You're really not service connected unless they prove fraud. But they can still change your percentage unless you hit the 20-year mark. So, in other words, let's stay with the back. Let's say your back is rated at 70%. Okay. The VA goes in and says, you know what? You have improved enough. We're going to change your rating to 40%. If they can show sustained improvement over that 5 year period or 4 year, whatever period they're going to show sustained improvement to prove you don't deserve that 70% rating anymore, they can change the percentage or try to, but they cannot take away the service connection for your back. So, in other words, whatever your service connection is, and you've had it for at least 10 years, the VA can't sever that tie unless it's fraud involved. So, if there is no fraud involved, you've had your service connections, listen to me clearly. service connections, not percentages, service connections for at least 10 years. They cannot take that away. So if you're service connected for mental health, you've had it for 10 years, they can't take it away. You're service connected for your legs, at least 10 years, they can't take it away. The percentages, though, can still change. Hopefully that's clear for everybody. I'm trying to make the distinct difference. 100% P&T or not, listen to what I'm saying. That's what these rules are for, and why I'm trying to give you the 38 CFR codes you can go read for yourself. Excuse me. So there is no mistaking what I'm telling you. Okay, I'm gonna give you the rule again. It's the 10-year rule. It's 38 CFR 3.957. And it talks about after 10 years, how your service connection is bulletproof after 10 years. The VA can't take it away unless it's fraud involved, but the percentage, they can still change if they can prove sustained improvement over a period of time. Okay, so we talked about before 5 years, we talked about the 5-year rule. Now we just covered the 10-year rule. Okay, let's move to the 20-year rule. And I'm gonna give you the CFR code for the 20-year rule. It's 38 CFR 3.951B. I'm gonna repeat that again. The 20-year rule, 38 CFR 3.951B. Now here's an interpretation of what the rule says. After 20 continuous years at the same or higher rating, the rating level becomes locked. In other words, if you've had your rating for at least 20 years, whatever it may be, okay, it is now locked. The VA cannot do anything with that rating unless they can prove fraud. Okay, so that 20-year, this is basically saying it's bulletproof unless they can prove fraud. That's true. So whatever you are at that 20-year mark, you are at 100% at 20 years, you're good. Ain't nothing they can do. Let me distinguish this again. Whenever you get your rating, because most people don't understand this, and I have to explain this every time. Let's say your first rating, like mine, was in 2000. Okay? And you became 100% in 2010, which is when I became 100%. That first rating at 20% in 2000 is 25 years later. Ain't nothing they can do. The service connection, the percentage, locked. Unless there's fraud involved, it is locked. The 2010, when I became 100%, okay, I have the 5-year protection. I have the 10-year protection. I do not have 20 years yet. I only have 15 years. Okay? So, but in 5 more years, that 100% rating is locked. Nothing they can do. You guys understand that? Every time you get a rating increase or you get a new rating, that's a new clock. It does not go by your original service connection. You get a new clock every time. If you went from 10% to 50%, that 50% has its own clock, just like that 10% had its own clock. Hopefully that's clear to everybody. All right, I'm gonna say that again. Anytime you get a new rating or a new percentage, okay, or a new service connection, it has its own clock. It does not go back to the original clock from your first service connection. So whatever your first rating was, 1985, and you became 100% last week, well, that 100% does not go all the way back to 1985. It started last week. That's when that clock started. Okay? Hopefully that is clear. Now, 100%. 100% basically means that you're totally disabled. That's what 100% means. That according to the VA, your disability basically says that you are totally disabled. When it comes to PNT status, it just basically means your condition is stat. It's not looking to be improved at all, period. But even with PNT, unless it's got at least 5, 10 years of protection behind it, that don't mean a whole lot. Okay? So I want to run through the 38 CFRs again, see if there are any questions, and then move from there. All right. So I'm going to start back with the first one. For the 5-year rule, for those of you who are interested in going back and reading these rules for yourself, it is 38 CFR 3.344. That's for the 5-year rule. For the 10-year rule, it's 38 CFR 3.957. Again, 38 CFR 3.957. For the 20-year rule, it's 38 CFR 3.951B. 38 CFR 3.951B. Okay, that's your 5, 10, and 20-year rules. Again, I don't try to explain these things to scare people. I try to explain these things to educate people. There's a huge difference. Because whenever I see veterans and they say, oh, I'm 100% PNT. How long have you had it? Oh, I've only had it for 3 years. Well, I wouldn't be out screaming I'm 100% PNT if I only had it for 3 years because you don't have no protection. Time, ladies and gentlemen, time. Your biggest ally with the Department of Veterans Affairs is time. Okay? Time. The more time you have behind these ratings, the more protections you have. Let me get to in here. What's up, Mr. Lawson? Dark, what's going on? Haven't seen you in a while. Okay, now the 55-year-old rule is interesting, Mr. Lawson, because it depends on how the Department of Veterans Affairs interprets it. Because it used to be, once you hit 55 years old, the VA would treat it almost like PNT, even if you had a rating less than PNT. That's not the case anymore. They don't look at that the same way. That's why I didn't even bring it up. There's a PNT rule as well. But the way the VA interprets it now, I didn't even bring it up. The 55-year-old rule used to be something that veterans can count on, but I can promise you, you ask people who are 55 plus, who are less than PNT or less than 100%, because they're not supposed to be going back doing ratings again, annual ratings. They still are. They still are. So that's why I didn't even bring it up, Mr. Lawson, because the VA pretty much are on their own thing now. These other rules are set by Congress. So is that one, but they interpret it different. I can guarantee you, when the next live stream on a Saturday, people who are 55 plus and set their ratings 50%, they're not supposed to be doing annual reviews. I bet you they still are. I got $100 right now, Mr. Lawson, that says they still are. Guarantee you they still are. Because that rule, they basically pretty much ignore it now. It's kind of like what President Trump is trying to do with Social Security and the grid rule. The grid rule is supposed to be there to help people who are at least 45 or 50, I forgot which one it is, and older. Because once you reach a certain age, the government figures it's much harder for you to get a job to compete with much younger people in that same field. So that rule is designed to help older people get Social Security. He wants to eliminate that. He wants to eliminate that rule altogether. Now, will they actually do it? I don't know. No idea. But it's going to work in the same way that the 55-year-old rule does with the VA. I can promise you that. All right. Now, are there any other questions? Does anybody have? One sec. I need to get this damn door. But do you guys have any other questions? Let me know now before I jump off. I got to get my day started. I got to jump in the shower real quick, and we're gonna be out of here. So let me know, guys, before I get out of here, if anybody has any questions. Anybody watching this on the replay, just leave a comment if you have one. But other than that, you know, if you got any questions, let me know. All right, back. Sorry about that. Okay, but just to answer Mr. Lawson's question again, this is supposed to be a rule for people who are 55 plus. Like I said, even if you're less than 100% P&T, you're not supposed to get re-examinations. You're not supposed to be scheduled for any future re-examinations. They don't abide by that. I can promise you. I can promise you. People who are 55 plus, they still got to go in and get that examination. I can promise you that, right? And it's supposed to be protections against reductions, but again, that's the way VA is interpreting things now. That's why I don't even bring it up. Yep, I'm about to get up out of here, man. Again, hey, I appreciate everybody watching as always. I appreciate you guys' support. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'm out of here. Peace and chicken grease. Enjoy the rest of your day.